Hi, and welcome back to a brand new episode of To Whom It May Concern, Hood Professionals. I am your host with the most, AP, and I am once again, I know I tell y'all all the time, but I really am happy to have y'all back here. Listen, the podcast is growing. Pat myself on the back, but I got to, because it's a one-woman crew. So if I don't big me up, who gonna do it? Okay. Listen, this episode for the month of November, can we take a pause for the fact that we are already in the 11th month in this good Christian year of 2022? When did we get here? Because let me tell you something, October for the past 2 years has been like, listen, I don't have time for the mess. Church finger up in the air and is tipped on out the way. We have, to me, October has been a blur. I really can't even pick out a specific day in October that has just been like, oh yeah, I remember this is what happened. Maybe one particular day. And that's when I placed my client in a job. And that is literally the only day that I can remember. Anywho, moving right along. This podcast episode is going to be about workplace privilege. Yes. And I know that when I say the word privilege, I want you to think about exactly where your mind goes to when you hear that word. Does it go to a place of race? Does it go to a place of one particular race having a particular advantage? Or does it go to a place of favoritism, right? Or immunity? I really want you to think about when you hear the word privilege, exactly where do your thoughts go? Where does the word take your thoughts? And let's just see as we go through this episode, are you enlightened? Are you affirmed in your original thoughts? Or are you getting something to think about, and possibly observe more in your workspace with others and also with yourself? You can even though we're saying privilege in the workplace, I even want you to think about these types of things in your personal life. Remember, because from our last episode going forward, I really want to be able to do that personal professional mashup when necessary, because a lot of times we carry on the practices in our personal lives over into our professional lives. I mean, it's kind of difficult not to, because you are human. You are who you are. Although, we like to say code switch and that kind of stuff, but you are who you are. Hopefully we're not running around here being fake. Honey, as we can see, time is moving swiftly. So if you have time to be fake, honey, I want you to stop. I want you to be authentically you. I know there's a time and a place for professionalism, but also I think that it helps you professionally to invoke who you are and your personality into what you got, into your workplace. Now, if you got some crazy other stuff going on that is pretty much illegal, then no, leave those activities and that person beyond your 9 to 5 or whatever your hours of operation are to be a professional. But as far as just being your authentic self, character-wise, I definitely encourage you to do that, because you don't want people trying you and then you have to humble them and let them know, thou knowest not who I am. Okay? So just keep that in mind. Now, moving on to workplace privilege. You know me, I like to Google. I like to read as well. And I got some Webster Dictionary definitions. Privilege, according to Webster, is a special right, advantage, or immunity granted or available only to a particular person or group. And it highlights the word benefit. And it says it's a right attached specifically to a position or an office. And when I look at some synonyms for privilege, one word that pops up is entitlement. And I know we all like to use that word because that word just holds such weight. And it's a word that can be used in a multitude of ways. Privilege can also, as I see it, workplace privilege also has a cousin, right? Privilege has a cousin, and that cousin's name is nepotism. And nepotism is the act of using your power or influence to get good jobs or unfair advantage for family members. And I also added or friends, aka favoritism. Now, a lot of people that I have spoken to have an issue with nepotism. Me personally, I don't, because I feel like, isn't that what you work hard for? Isn't that why? Is that not why you put yourself in certain situations and circles and opportunities, is so that you can open up the door for those of you that are attached to you? So I kind of feel like it's kind of crazy for us to bash people for nepotism. Like, I'm not going to bash somebody for putting their family on. However, if it is something that deals with like civil service, such as like political offices, yes, then I do find issue with those types of things. But for, any other job outside of those sectors, it's just kind of like, why be mad at Jonathan for helping his son to rise up? Why be mad for Jonathan working hard all those years, making connections, building networks in order for his son, Jonathan Jr., to be able to have a easier role than what he did? It's not to say that that person isn't going to work hard. It's not to say that that person doesn't have knowledge or experience to fulfill the requirements of the position. It's just merely that his father or whomever went before him to ensure that their family would always have a place as far as wealth, as far as opportunity, as far as an advantage. I can't be mad at that. I can't be. I know y'all want to be, and I'm not going to say y'all. Let me take that back. Bad AP. I'm not going to say y'all. I know some people want to be. But it's really just one of those things where, how am I going to knock somebody for working hard to create an avenue for their lifeline, for their legacy? How am I going to be mad at that? I want to be able to create and do the same thing for my family, for my nephew. I don't have children. And so therefore I try to put myself in positions that if my nephew needed something, or if there's an opportunity and I haven't, and and I have a direct access to that opportunity because I have the ear or the shoulder of that person, why wouldn't I use that to my benefit? To me, it's not nepotism, it's leverage. Okay? To me, it's working smarter, not harder. So when we think of nepotism, I don't know how people can see it as a bad thing. I'm sorry, I'm not going along. I'm not jumping on the bandwagon. Don't punch my ticket. I'm not getting on the train. Y'all not gonna make me believe nepotism is bad. Let me stop saying y'all. Some of y'all, well, yeah. Whoever you are that believes that nepotism is a bad thing, y'all are not gonna make me believe that it is a bad thing. Only the only exception that I have for nepotism is in, like, again, civil services. Because just because you are a good fit for mayor or city, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, your whole family can't possibly be the voice of the people, right? They just can't possibly be. You have to open it up to some type of competition. And I know some people might be like, well, why can't the same be for what you're saying? And I'm not to say that the same can't be. What I'm saying is, I'm not going to see nepotism as a negative thing. I always welcome healthy competition. I always welcome the opportunity for others to present. Nepotism does not mean that others don't get the opportunity to present. It just means that there is favor granted upon a person who has influence, who has power, and they are choosing to use it to the benefit of their family and friends. Right? So I just want us to be very clear on what I'm saying. It's not to say just because nepotism is in place that that person is going to even get it, right? It just means that I have favor to at least have my nephew bypass some things. I know he's going to get to the final interview for this scholarship, right? I know that he's going to, because there's so many applications that are coming in. Hopefully, yeah, he can still put in an application, but because I have favor here, because I've brought my nephew around, he's been to these events with these people, he has a relationship with them, he has favor. It's not a bad thing. Now, I mean, you can feel how you feel, and if you feel like nepotism is a bad thing, feel free to comment. Feel free to email. Feel free to do all those things. Make sure that you are following us over at TWIMC_Hood Professionals over at Instagram. Make sure you're following us. Make sure you're commenting. Make sure you're sharing. And if you got something you want to say, honey, keep it positive. Number one, keep it cute. Comment. Let me know your thoughts. Have these conversations. That's why we're having these conversations. Now, privilege. Here's where we're going to get into some interesting things. While privilege at times, when we use that term, which has become a very hot topic, I would say here in the past 2 years, as it comes to like being like a social hot topic, of course, in the Black community, it's definitely a word that is used quite often in terms of like racial inequality and things of that nature. Workplace privilege comes in terms when someone is being given a special right, again, a special right, an advantage, or an immunity is granted only to a particular person and or a group. So for something like this, like where sometimes you notice in a workplace, the dress code is supposed to apply to everyone else, but you see certain people who pretty much wear whatever they want to wear to work, and nothing is said to them. It's not frowned upon. There may be some little fluttered comment that's like mumbled about the dress code when it comes to them, and they don't adhere to it. But if you were to come in not in dress code, if you were to come in on a day that's not a casual Friday and you came in jeans, it's a conversation. It's a, you know what I mean? It's not necessarily a write-up, but it's definitely a conversation. That's something small as opposed to privilege, but could also be something that is annoying for some, because it's just like, why is it okay for certain people to be able to dress however they want to dress, but when it comes to me, I am to adhere to a different standard? Secondly, I would also say privilege can also come into forms when other people feel free to be loud or boisterous in the office, pretty much have their own conversations. They're not necessarily caring about the noise level or the comfortability of others around them. They're free to do that. However, as Black people, because I'm going to say it, because I've experienced it, we tend to be more aware of ourselves in the workplace. And if we're too loud, we subconsciously tell each other, shh. Like we shush each other to be quiet. Whereas our Caucasian counterparts and others tend to be more boisterous and more loud, laughing and things of that nature. Like and you would think it shouldn't be a big deal, but there is a major difference. And I don't know why. I personally don't like it. And I've told my coworkers sometimes, hey, if you're laughing, you're laughing. If you're doing your work, you're doing your work. I never understood the concept that me laughing and having a good time somehow equates to me not getting my work done. I never understood that logic. And I'm like, we all went to school. Like that's like, you know what I mean? That's like elementary, middle school stuff. Like, we're all adults. We're not in school anymore. So why are you censoring yourselves to that? I really, I mean, I get it, but at the same time, I don't. Because I'm just like, why do I have to conform myself to this weird notion that I need to be very quiet? It's like I need to almost be seen and not heard in order for you to believe I'm getting my work done. Like, you don't want to be caught having a conversation with your coworker because you don't want to be deemed I'm not doing my work. But other people, like, they have no issue with it. They can get up and go to each other's office. They may get up because they didn't feel like sending an email, so they go and they talk about that, and then the conversation turns into something else. As a Black woman, I don't want to feel like you're watching me if I decide to do the very things that you all decide to do. And even in reference to titles, right? Whether you're the ED, the Director of Operations, the next in line, the deaconess, whatever your title is, I don't feel like why does that grant you more access to socializing in office than it does me? Because 9 times out of 10, we're the ones doing the groundwork to make sure the programs and departments run. Granted, and I'm not saying that Director of Operations and the ED jobs are not important, because they are, because they deal with a lot of budget and how we make our money and how we get our name out and making sure that the office runs smoothly. However, that I don't feel like that gives you any greater right to socialize in the office than it gives me. I truly feel like as long as the work is being done, who gives a shit who's talking to who? Like, have your conversations. You're at work for 8 hours. My God, there's really only so much work you can do at work, right? You can go in, you can keep your head down, you can do your work. At some point, don't you need to get up and just stretch? Don't you need to just get up and just take a breather? Like, I'm being for real, because these are real things that are happening in the workplace. And you just want to have a conversation about, like, why is it okay for y'all to congregate, but when we congregate, it's an issue? Why do you feel like you need to break us up, but you're not breaking them up? Why do you feel like you need to come and look for me, but you're not going and looking for somebody else? Why is that? Or why is it just because someone else is Black in the office, you automatically come to me when you're looking for them? I don't know. I don't know where that person is. Why don't you call them? Why don't you text them? Why are you coming to me? I am not the only person in the office that they talk to. Ma'am, please, quickly find something else to do. It's not a good look. It's not a good look at all. But the other side of the coin when it comes to privilege is this. When a person of a minority group or a marginalized group is somehow able to break that barrier or that boundary, and they're offered a seat at the table because someone at the table has shown favor towards them, right? Has shown some type of favor. We then feel like, or would like to believe, that person is going to work in such a way that they are going to open doors and make room for some of us or others of us to come along and sit at the table. And while that can be a controversial mindset, it is one that I simply do not believe is wrong to have. Especially if it's about building relationships, especially if it's about building networks. Because who better to have a better knowledge of one's work ethic and work skills than someone who works with you? And then to get to the table, and if someone is like, hey, Jonathan, I see you've been working with the ED and the fundraising department, the marketing department. Like, these are some areas and these are people who I would like to be able to have more in-depth conversations with. I would like to have an audience with them. feel like for Jonathan, that is his time to be able to just impart some wisdom to that person. Depending on who the person is. Again, it's only for Jonathan to know the work ethic of that person, because you've been working with that person hopefully long enough that you have a sense of where this person's head is and how this person works, their character, their level of professionalism. And I feel like it is a duty for us to impart on one another, like, hey, this is what it is and this is what it takes. And if you're serious about the things that you say you are, here are some things that I see that you can do some improvement upon. And if I were to be able to see you do some improvement upon those things, I would feel more comfortable sticking my neck out for you. Or you can straight up just be like, listen, I don't feel comfortable, sticking my neck out at this point in time. I'm still trying to become acclimated in my position. I'm still trying to learn who everyone is and what my position is in this. And hopefully once I'm able to learn and begin to practice what I'm learning, I'll be able to extend an invitation. However, there are some things that concerns me about your work ethic. And if you want my advice, I'd be happy to sit down with you at a later time where we can just have a conversation about it. Me personally, I've been burnt. And honey, I'm not even talking about like some corporate job. We're talking about, honey, working at the mall and extending that leverage of nepotism and having that shit bite you in the ass. Because you have people who don't value the favors that you do for them. When they're in need, they know how to be humble. But then after you've extended the favor and you've gotten them access to something, somehow they have now forgotten that, you know what? My family member or my friend has used their favoritism, their privilege, their influence to help me get hired on because this is what I said that I needed. So if anything, I'm gonna bite the bullet on a lot of shit simply because I don't want to make them look bad. That's the thing when it comes to when someone is extending, someone who has privilege, and also someone who who is willing to extend that branch of nepotism. You have to be the type of person to respect that shit. You have to be the type of person who is willing to either A, back away, or B, bite the bullet. And if B, you're biting the bullet, have the conversation with your person and say, hey, this is what's going on. I would appreciate if you could show me or tell me how to navigate through this situation because you've been here longer than I have. And I want to make sure that I move in a way that does not reflect poorly on you. But I find that sometimes too often people are so concerned, especially this new age nonsense, this whole matching energy bullshit. That is grade A, bottom line BS. Never should, as a grown person, should you be looking to match energy that is lower than yours. Never should you, as a grown person, be looking to match energy that is evoking a spirit of negativity. Are you out of your rabbit ass mind? Are you crazy? You really feel like you have that type of time here on earth that you need to be matching energy that sucks peace out of you, happiness out of you, contentment out of you? That's the type of energy you want to match. Are you sure? Are you sane? Right? That's number one. You shouldn't be trying to match energy. What you need to be doing is trying to figure out, how can I navigate through this situation? Is this a situation that I feel like is worth navigating through? But again, it's about going to that connection that you've obtained this this position through. So whether it's through nepotism or whether it's through privilege, going to that person, having that conversation with them and seeing if there is something that they can do to help you navigate through it, right? To help you to resolve it. And whether you come to the conclusion, you know what, this is something I need to step away from, go through the proper channels, write the notice, right? Write the notice. Do the right thing, because even when you leave from there, that person is still there. And if they've worked hard to get to the table, honey, don't you be the person that's taking the leg off from underneath the chair. It's a one hand washes the other situation. Just because this didn't work for you doesn't mean that it doesn't work for that person. And you got to be cognitive of that. You must value your relationships with your people, because they are placed there for a reason. And even if it doesn't work out for you, there's somebody else coming up the pipeline that it can work out for. So again, for me, nepotism and privilege are things that can be beautiful. They can be beneficial. They can be bountiful. They can be bridges for resources. They can be bridges for gaps in equity and equality and inclusion. And while we do come into contact with situations where nepotism and privilege can be seen as barriers, that is a situation where we have to then evaluate what our path or what our journey looks like within that organization. And if the privilege and the nepotism is one that presents himself as being, you're constantly being overlooked, then it's time for you to reevaluate your place there and to move on. You are not a tree. You can be moved, and you can move. Either they're going to move you or you're going to move yourself. And I promise you, the longer you stay someplace where you feel overlooked, underappreciated, undervalued, your spirit is going to change. And it's your responsibility to protect your spirit, to pour into yourself, to build a village, create a village for yourself that is conducive to the person you want to be. And that goes for your workplace too, honey. If your workplace is just toxic as hell and it's draining you, baby, get up out of there. Come from there. Come from out of there. Baby, because one thing that I have learned, bills gonna come whether you got a job or not, right? That's one thing. But the peace, happiness is congruent upon you. What are you doing to protect and to ensure your peace, your happiness, that you thrive? I am not in this world to survive, baby. I am here to thrive. I am here to sow seeds of good deeds and watch them grow and to prosper not only for me, but for those that I love and for those that they love. Because if I love you and there's somebody that you love and I can help to stand in the gap, to intercede and help build a bridge of opportunity for them, why wouldn't I? That's the beauty of nepotism. When used properly, it is a beautiful thing. And it's something that we all should strive for, to be a bridge for those to come. And even those who are presently here with you. As always, I thank you for tuning in. I thank you for listening to the whole episode. And you know, y'all, I'm really trying to do my due diligence on keeping these things short, simple, yet impactful. Be good to yourself. Be good to those who are good to you. And show grace to those who are not. All right? Till next time. Peace.